Finished all the Maimarim in Likutei Torah, believe it or not, on Vayigash. We actually learned both of them. There's two of them.
Make a seal of finishing the whole of Likutei Torah. Posnik did it.
What?
Posnik did it.
A lot of people do it every year.
The whole of Likutei Torah.
And Torah.
A lot of.
There's a Mareh Shiur. There's an index, like a calendar, that tells you what to learn every day. So you can finish both every year. It's not that difficult.
You do that.
It's 3 pages every day. I started doing it when I saw there was too much, and I Le'avin. So this is from Tafkum Samach Bet. This is the.
So this is a mimer.
This is the mimer already.
This is not printed in Likutei Torah.
No, this is only in Tafkum Samach Bet. Le'avin kol inyan sipur ha'maaseh de Yosef v'Yehuda. To understand the whole topic of the ganze Maaseh between Yosef and Yehuda. בוויכוח שלהם בכלל אודות בנימין אחיהם בחינת צדיק תחתון. In their argument about Binyamin. That's what their argument was about. In the end, is Binyamin going to stay with me or going to come back with me?
I thought the whole argument about is whether Mashiach, when Yosef comes first, or Mashiach.
Hold on. The pshat of the Torah is that they're arguing about Binyamin.
Yehuda knew that it was Yosef all along.
Nah, he didn't know.
That's what
So, in the higher world, yes. In this world, he didn't.
He sussed it out.
Maybe.
They saw certain things that made it obvious that it was Yosef.
Yeah, that's why their soul left them when he said, "I'm Yosef, your brother. Is my father still alive?" Right? Their souls, they basically they flatlined. Yeah, other shame. Okay. B'chinat tzadik tachton ruach deshavik baba'ala. This is very interesting. That the Arizal says that the first time that a couple have cohabit, then the husband leaves a spiritual spirit within his wife, and that is what binds her to him throughout their marriage.
Right.
But that spirit goes out with the last child.
That's interesting because I learned that it says somewhere in Gemara, not exactly that. It says that the first person the woman has relations with,
Right.
he
leaves the spirit. Right. That's why.
Forever.
No, it's not so simple. That it's not forever. In the Gemara, it just doesn't say what happens to that spirit afterwards. You're right. I don't think it's the Gemara exactly. I think it's one of the Mefarshim on the Gemara. I don't think the Gemara. Rucha deshavik baba'ala. That's a concept that he leaves some kind of spirit in it. And the Arizal says that this spirit does come out with the final child, with the last child that they'll have.
So then what happens? There's no.
So there's a rishimu left. There's some kind of residue left, but the spirit itself goes out with the last child.
What's the spirit anyway?
The spirit here is like the essence of the husband, the essence of their bond.
Part of his ruach nefesh.
Yeah, probably. It's like a mark. I'm here. שיהודה רצה לעלותו אל אביו יעקב דווקא, ויוסף רצה לעלותו אליו. The Yehuda wanted to take this remnant, this spirit, back to his father Jacob, return it to Jacob, but Yosef wanted it to come to him. כמו שכתוב, הורידו אליי, and that's why he kept saying, bring him to me, bring Benjamin to me. And Benjamin was the last child, so Benjamin had this spirit. So let's see. הנה עניין רוחה דשביק בבעלה הוא עניין הייבום כידוע. This rucha, this spirit that the husband leaves in the wife, is what levirate marriage is about.
What is?
Levirate. There's a word for you. Yibum. Yibum is levirate. I guess you're leveraging something. I don't know. That's what they call it. Levirate marriage.
Stick to yibum.
Yeah. V'hu b'chinat tzadik tachton. And that is the lower tzaddik.
Because she is his wife.
What's the lower tzaddik?
She is his wife.
Wait.
Dies.
The lower tzaddik means that there's 2 tzaddikim. Where do you see 2 tzaddikim? So the 2 tzaddikim are Yosef. Yosef is the Yesod. And Yosef is what we call the tzaddik. Tzaddik Yesod Olam. Yesod, the foundation, the sphere of foundation, is both the procreative organ, and it's also the foundation of the world, the tzaddik. The tzaddik is a person who keeps his covenant, who doesn't blemish his covenant. So,
Yehuda is Malchus.
right, so Yosef, he's the, right, hold on a second. So Yosef, he's the Yesod, he's the foundation. That's called the Tzaddik Elyon. It's called the higher tzaddik. But there's also a bechina, a aspect of foundation in kingdom.
What's foundation?
Foundation is Yesod.
Confuses me if you change that. Stick to people.
Yeah, I have to say it in English so you understand it. Because if you just say Yesod, you miss the fact that it's a foundation. It's just a Yesod. But there's a Yesod also in Malchus, in kingdom.
Every sphere has got the other spheres inside.
Nachon, that's true. But here we have a special connection between foundation and kingdom. Because if foundation is a procreative organ, and kingdom is the feminine, so there's a special connection between them.
Malchus is feminine.
Okay, it's the most feminine of all the sfirot. It's the most on the left.
Melech is a man.
Who said? Maybe it should be a malka, like there were a few times. How do you know that the Mashiach has to be a man? Maybe he should be a woman. So the pshat is that Mashiach is both a husband and wife. It's a husband and wife team. It's a power couple. Yeah, it doesn't mean that it's a power couple like they do in Hollywood. It means that it's two people who are intrinsically bonded together, and they bring goodness and light to the entire world as a couple.
So that's supposed to be the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin?
Yeah, that's why most people called her like the
Rebbetzin.
The queen. So there's a special bond between them, between foundation and Malchus. So this special bond is like this bond between a husband and a wife. So there's a part of the foundation that he puts into the kingdom. Now you understand why that's Binyamin. Because foundation itself is Yesod. Foundation. The Malchus, like you already said, is Yehuda. And now the question is, who does the Rucha, the bond that is forged between them, is forged through this spirit? Where does it belong? What is it a part of? Is it a part of foundation, of Yesod, or is it part of Malchus?
Okay, but all this leaves an amazing question which you're not even attempting to explain. How could Yosef take away Yaakov when he knew that if he took it? How could Yosef take away Binyamin when he knew that if he did that, Yaakov would die?
Because
would kill him.
It's not that simple. What do you mean he will die?
I mean, why didn't Yosef tell
He
him?
thought he would die, but he won't. Because if that's his right place, and anyway, I don't think the plan was to take him away and not tell Yaakov. I think the plan was to see that the brothers agreed to this, or in some way they saw the wisdom in this, or they admitted that Yosef has a place. And then Yaakov would hear about it that Yosef was alive, and then everything would. But it was a test.
All those 22 years also is a question.
Right, but we're not going to answer that question here. It's a very good question. והוא בחינת צדיק תחתון, פירוש התקשרות המקבל אל המשפיע. Right, so the tzaddik tachton is this rucha. That's what he's saying. That the lower tzaddik, the lower part of foundation, is what enters into kingdom, and it stays there. But the question is, who does it belong to? Does it belong to foundation? Does it belong to kingdom?
Why can't it be shared between both of them?
Seder, because there's a whole question here. We'll see. Okay? And this is called the iskashrus. This is called the connection between the mashpia and the mekabel, the one who's giving and the one who's receiving.
Then the mekabel is busha. The one mekabel
What?
mitbayeshet.
Why?
Why is the woman who cover her face?
I say that. Okay, but here it's not.
So
It's
she's
not a woman.
mitbayeshet.
Here it's
The
Yuda.
mekabel is always mitbayesh.
I said, but here it's Yuda. He's not mitbayesh. He's not. He doesn't see it that way. והתשוקה נפלאה עליו, יש בו שתי מדרגות. האחד מצד עצמות המקבל, כמו ולישך תשוקתך מצד עצמה, וזה נקרא העלאת מן, כידוע. So he says there's two yearnings involved in this rucha, in this lower tzaddik. There's two types of, what are they? On the one hand, there's the yearning that comes from the one who's receiving. What's his yearning? Elishech chukatech. That because he received, you created a bond between him and the one who gave, and so he yearns for the one who gave him. He yearns for the giver. And when you have someone, like with parents, this is what we feel with parents.
That's husband and wife.
And it's also husband and wife. But I'm saying something simple, that whenever somebody gives you something, and it's something very deep, your teacher, whoever it is, and he gave you something very deep, it creates a yearning, a chanukah, for that giver. So that's one side of it. And that's called v'zenika ala'at man kayadua. And that's called feminine waters that rise. Why is it feminine? Because it's the receiver here is the malchus. He's the kingdom. And the kingdom is feminine. So it's receiving and it creates a yearning to give back. So you call it busha, and then I don't want to hear that word. Why? Because he's not going to go into that.
So that's when the waters rose?
When Rivka came. Right. That's called rising waters. What's this in life? That when a person realizes that everything that he has comes from God, he wants to give God. What can I give God? He says, must be a reason why God created me. So I have a yearning to fulfill that reason. That's called feminine waters, because I'm awakening because of what I received. Okay? אבל מדרגה שנית, but the second type of yearning here, מה שתהיה תשוקתה רק מצד של השפע שהושפע בה מכבר, ואף שקלטה והלכה לה נשאר בבחינת רשימו ממנה, שמעורר אותה בתשוקת הקבלה לקבל עוד שפע. He says, but there's another type of yearning here. It's not the yearning that I want to give back, to do something for somebody who did something for me. He says, no, it's a different yearning. It's a yearning that I want to get more. And there's a taste, there's a good taste left over from every time that I received something. And so I want more of it. Lekabel od shefa, I want more shefa. So even though the first giving is finished.
So that's about me, not about...
No, it's about the shefa. It doesn't have to be about me. It's about the fact that there was... You could say that it's about me. I mean, if a person's not really contemplating what they're yearning for, then they may think they want to gratify themselves. But the thing is that it's the experience. It's that whole geschäft that had to do with being together. And it's a yearning to be together. I'm yearning to have this once again. It's not about me. It's not about my gratification. It's about the whole constellation, the whole connection between the one who gave me and myself. So with a teacher, it could be that I want to meet him again to give him something, to do something for him, whatever. To show him that I've done something with what he's taught me. Those could all be...
like to give tzedakah to a guy?
Maybe, because we want to give back to him. We want to say, I appreciate what you did. It's not because I owe you. Right. I want you to see that what you gave had an impact. And how do I show you that it had an impact? Because I appreciate it. So, but...
I never felt that way about Hashem. Never felt that way in actual words, outspoken or mental words. Yeah, I must do something to say thank you to Hashem.
You don't feel sometimes you don't want to go daven and you go daven anyway and you say, but I owe Hashem?
Never expressed it in those...
Okay, so here he is.
I go to shul and think, this is so hard, but that's what I do.
Good. So you don't go one step further. Why am I going anyway? But the other thing is...
That's because what Jewish people do.
So let's take the example of shul. So one side of it could be, I need to say thank you to Hashem. The other side of it is, I remember that many times when I was in shul, it was a very positive experience. What do you mean it was a positive experience? I felt that something was happening. That is the rucha de shavikba. That reshimu, that residue, that leftover that you have from the first experience, that's what drives you to have more of them. and again, you could make it very coarse and say you're looking for more self-gratification, but that's not what he means. He means that the bond, the union that was created between the giver and the receiver is one that I want to experience again. And it's not just for me, it's the whole constellation. So if it's a teacher who's already passed away, so that part I can't do anymore. No, but I can do that. I can show the appreciation, but I can't create the union again. I can't relive it. Okay? In any case. זהו אינו מצד עצמה כלל, רק מפני שכל דבר חוזר למקורו. So this is not because of the person himself awakening. The receiver here is not awakening to want to give something back. It's rather the rucha itself, the experience itself that was left over, yearns to return to its source. The experience wants to return. The rucha, the spiritual aspect that was left over from the union between two, that has a tendency to return to its source. והרי רשימו מן השופע נשאר בה שחוזר למקומו, על כן תהיה תשוקתה. וזהו הנקרא צדיק תחתון. And so that's called the lower tzaddik. That yearning that comes as a result of what the experience left in us, what it gave in us, and that experience yearns to return to its source. Okay? על כן תהיה תשוקתה. וזהו נקרא צדיק תחתון, פירוש שהוא נלקח מצדיק עליון. And that's why they call it, that's why it's called in Kabbalah a lower tzaddik, a lower foundation. Because it was really taken from the foundation. It's something that the foundation gave, and now, in a certain sense, it wants to return to its source. So that's not me. That's not me wanting to return to my source. It's the rucha, the spirit that was left in me, the leftover, the residue of the experience.
So therefore, according to what you're saying, I know it's not true, but therefore, one should think, well, the husband and wife could never get divorced.
Again,
husband and wife could never get divorced.
Someone who has no wife can never get divorced. That's true.
A husband
and
a wife could never divorce. There's this all yearning to go back to how it was. All this.
So that's why he says it comes out with the last child. And this happens a lot to people. You see, I don't want to get ahead of us, ahead of ourselves.
After the last child.
Yeah.
There's never really more.
So,
you didn't know that then that's going to be the last child. Most people don't.
But it turns out that it was.
Right.
So I'll say how it is today a lot of times. And this was very common.
It's not a facetious question.
That a lot of people, once they finish with their children, they don't find the same interest in each other anymore. And so they do get divorced, or they don't live as close as they used to. It's very common in people. Why? Because there is a bond that's created by the children. And as the youngest child grows up, he takes that bond away. and then there becomes a question of what's holding us together?
Grandchildren.
Okay.
Should be.
Hopefully. But grandchildren is not the same type of thing at all. It's a common interest. But it's not this bond. Okay? So it creates problems. It's not a simple thing that the last child takes it with him.
There's a famous secret from the Rebbe which says that as opposed to every other creature in the entire universe, there's no connection between the first and the third generation. It doesn't exist.
Right.
A little bit first.
Right.
It says, what is it based on? It says, the love that you have for the child depends on how much affection there is between you and the grandchild.
So let's see what happens here. וזהו שחשק יוסף צדיק עליון דרוחא דשביק מכבר תחזור אליו ותתקלל בו. לכך אמר ואשימה עיני עליו ודי למבין. So this is an amazing thing. He's saying that the relationship that theoretically existed, right, you would say between Yaakov and his wives, okay, and came out with Binyamin, in this case Yaakov and Rachel. We're ignoring that. We're looking at the abstract relationship here. We're not trying to peg it at the moment to particular people who had a marital bond. We're saying that Yosef represents foundation. Well, everything we explained is true in every marriage. Now we're saying that Yosef and Yehuda have this type of relationship. Yosef and Yehuda have like a marital bond type of relationship. We're not saying that they were married. We're saying that they have that type of relationship between them. That Yosef is the one who's giving. Where was Yosef giving? He's giving everybody in the Middle East, everybody in the world. He's providing grain.
Until now.
And Yehuda is dependent on him. So it says Yosef, since you're receiving, you're all dependent on me. You're all receiving from me. You're now all mine, which is what I told you in the beginning. That's what I told you in the beginning. You didn't want to listen to me, right? You wanted to kill me, but I was telling you what was going to happen, what it was going to be, whether you liked it or not. So I had a vision of what was going to happen, and you not only did you not accept it, you hated me for it. What's wrong? You don't have a little humility to say maybe we need to receive from. So what? So have some humility.
He was trying to upset.
He was trying to be. But he was right. It turned out that he was right. So he says, I've been feeding you for the last year or 2 years.
He's feeding us now.
It turned out that he was feeding everybody all the time. Why was he feeding everybody all the time? Because he's the tzaddik elyon. Because he really was at a different level than the other tribes. All the other tribes, we say, they're in the world of creation and below. But he's in the world of Atzilus. That's why he's part of the Eitz Chaim.
You told me that Yosef is from Yisoid, and now you told me he's in Atzilus.
Ken, but he's the Yesod of Atzilus.
Before Yisoid.
What? He's the Yesod of Atzilus. He's the foundation of the world of emanation. He's one with Hashem. He's the foundation of Hashem.
Yehuda's in Atzilus?
No. He's the Malchus in Bria already.
Who's Malchus of Atzilus?
Nobody yet. David would eventually become. Right now,
I can't afford to be behind you. Otherwise, I won't be able to put on a day.
okay. So we'll continue tomorrow.
This is